middle of a burning magical dark forest on a sunny day. Smoke from the fire surrounds him, creating a flare effect. Fiery particles can be animated for better visual quality. Arthur is shown with his back to the camera. Lately, I've been having the same dream more and more often. A dark forest, fire, and me standing in the middle of it all. I don't feel fear and I don't feel pain, but I do feel sadness so deep that I want to burn in that fire along with the forest, but no matter how much I want to. I can't. The fire pushes me away, throwing me back into the real world. That same dream came to me again last night. Once again, I felt like something inside me was burning down with the forest every single time, stronger and stronger. Eye-opening animation. Waking up in a cold sweat, I felt tears running down my cheek. It was the first time in a long while that I cried, whether it was because of the dream or because I woke up again in this room that reminded me of a dungeon of my free will. Dawn is the best time for me, when the entire castle is still asleep, and there are no voices, no commands, no shouting in the corridors. Silence is my best friend, and I can hear myself. Getting out of bed and looking out the window, where the sun was rising above the horizon, I saw the dark and cold Terenu forest. This is where I greet the sun every morning through a narrow window. The first rays of light pour in, painting warm patterns on the stone floor, as if to remind me that the world beyond the palace still exists. Opening the heavy door to my room, its creak always slightly annoyed me. It reminded me that every time I leave my room, I must put on a mask, pretend to be someone I'm not. That sound is always associated in my mind with the fact that I must prepare myself, prepare to meet the expectations of others, be it my parents or other people who see in me nothing more than the son of my father, the king, the one I'm obliged to become someday. Walking through the endless corridor of the castle where I grew up, I felt like I knew every brick it was built from. I was so tired of the monotony and dullness of this castle that even if I had the slightest chance to escape without hurting anyone, I would do it without hesitation. The walls were adorned with ancient paintings and portraits of ancestors who seemed to look into my soul. With each day, they weighed on me more and more. It felt like even they didn't understand what was going on inside me, yet they were always there, always watching me, but never doing anything. Their cold and stern gazes pierced me every time I passed. But what else is there to do when everyone expects something from me? I don't even know how to answer that. There's only hope left that something will happen to pull me out of this endless loop of monotony. Even though I wanted breakfast, I didn't feel like going there only to listen once again to endless political lectures, affairs of allies, and how I as a prince bear great responsibility now and in the future. Perhaps that's why I arrived there later and later each time. Neither my mind nor my legs wished to go early or even on time. I continued to wander through these endless corridors at a slow pace. Breakfast with my father at the time when important decisions are made. But I had no choice, so whether I wanted to or not, I still had to go. Opening yet another identical, equally massive and heavy door, I stepped inside where my father the king was already waiting for me. This room used to be my favorite as a child. The walls were decorated with expensive tapestries bearing the kingdom's crests. A large window opposite the table allowed rays of sunlight to gently shine through. Several chandeliers hung from the high ceilings, illuminating the space and reflecting off the silver and crystal dishes on the table. I used to love this place, especially when I spent time here with my mother. We laughed, talked a lot, and joked. Those were good times. It's such a pity that they're gone. Now, this hall is nothing more than another reminder of my fate. All this is nothing more than a showpiece to flaunt status to others. Slowly walked up to the table and sat across from my father, who looked as grim and silent as always. The hall was filled with silence, only the scraping sounds of forks and spoons against crystal occasionally broke it. You're late again, Arthur. This is starting to get on my nerves. What happened this time? Got lost in the corridors? Fell down the stairs? I'm sorry, I just wanted to clear my head before breakfast. Is that so? I see. Well then, since we're here together, let me tell you about the state affairs. A neighboring kingdom has sent us a letter, or rather, a plea for help. Due to a drought, their crops were almost completely destroyed. They're asking us to help them with food, but they're offering nothing in return. While you were wandering the corridors, dreaming about your life, my advisors and I came to the conclusion that this is not beneficial for our kingdom. In fact, we see great benefit in waiting until they weaken even more. The kingdom of Emery has constantly tried to conquer us, but ever since their king changed, things haven't gone their way. You want to conquer our allies when they're in need? Doesn't that go against our laws? Perhaps, but it's also possible that our laws clearly and plainly teach us never to forget old grievances. The kingdom of Emery nearly destroyed our nation, and they'll try to do it again the moment they regain strength. The new king may have signed a peace and cooperation treaty with us, but we do not trust him. Although we've had no issues with them in the past few years, which is why we hesitate. I want to hear your opinion, Arthur. What would you do in my place? I'd help them without hesitation. That's exactly why you're a fool, Arthur. Fools don't become kings. When will you grow up? Power requires strength and cold reason, not your sentimentality. Our enemies are just waiting for someone like you to come to power so they can wipe our kingdom out. Your weakness is irritating, and so is your behavior. Day by day, you're late to meetings. You must think I'm a fool for not realizing how carelessly you treat all this. You lack the cold reason that I and my loyal advisors possess. Or maybe it's because of that cold reason that people fear you rather than respect you. Maybe the people are unhappy because your power without heart isn't rule, it's tyranny. Watch your tongue, Arthur. You're my son, but I will not allow anyone, even you, to undermine my authority in my own hall. I don't want to be your reflection. I see how people are afraid to even look at you. I see fear in the guard's eyes. This isn't life, it's a cage for everyone. My words clearly angered my father, jumping from his chair. He slammed his fist on the table so hard I thought for a second he might have broken it. The crystal on the silver trays trembled, bouncing into the air and hitting the table. Spoons and forks jumped, and a wine glass nearly toppled over. The hall became even quieter than before. Even the servants in the corners didn't dare move. Shut your mouth. You're still young, inexperienced, and more importantly, the complete fool. Your duty is to obey the king. On your coming of age, you will marry, and we will expand our dominion. That's how rulers act. I'm not a tyrant, but I love my kingdom. That is why you who came late to the discussion no longer have any right to decide anything, and you have only yourself to blame for that. We have come to the conclusion that the best way to avoid war, while still getting what we want, is your marriage to the daughter of the King of Emery. I could have listened to all your objections, I could have even considered them, but now I won't even give you the chance to speak. Maybe this will be a lesson to you that the kingdom is not a toy, and you are not a free bird to fly wherever you please. You don't want a son, you want a chess piece, but I am not your con. I don't need a crown if it means betraying myself and becoming a symbol of fear to others. And this is your gratitude for everything you've been given, for the education, the strength, the prestige, for the food you eat. You have no idea what we've gone through so that you could live the way you want and think however you please, without fearing the consequences. You haven't seen true tyrants. You haven't lived as we once did. When rivers of blood and scorched earth weren't horror, they were everyday reality. When people were afraid to even step outside, fearing they'd be brutally killed or tortured. This isn't ingratitude, Father. It's the pride of someone who no longer wants to live someone else's life, a life you're trying to force upon me. Stop arguing. I no longer care what you think. There is no other way. I'll teach you that a kingdom is not a toy. It will be as I said. That's final. Conversation over. Eat. I've had enough. stared at my father with unbearable hurt and a fury that burned inside me like smoldering coals. I was so overwhelmed with emotion that my temples throbbed, as if something inside me was about to explode. My entire life, in that moment, felt shattered like a house of cards. I couldn't stay there anymore, not even for a second. My emotions forced me to push back my chair. It scraped against the stone floor with such a harsh screech. It felt like an explosion tearing through the silence, and no longer felt the ground beneath my feet. My steps were swift and resolute. They echoed dully between the castle's stone walls. As I reached the door, I slammed it shut with all my strength. Slammed it so hard, the sound echoed through the entire palace. I finally left that damn hall, not looking back. I couldn't bear to see my father, or the hall, or anything, only anger. Pain and resentment pushed me forward. My father remained seated. He didn't even flinch, calmly continued eating his breakfast as if nothing had happened. Only deep in his eyes, for a fleeting second, a fire of wild rage flashed. My heart pounded faster and louder than ever before. I was filled with determination to finally change my life. I felt in my soul the chill of these long corridors, which revealed the emptiness and devaluation of me as a person. How much longer will this go on? He's not a father, he's a wall. What am I to him? A soldier? A tool? A slab of meat? I walked quickly down the corridor, barely noticing where I was headed. I was trembling with rage, my jaw clenched, my fists tightening on their own. Suddenly, I stopped, staring at the portraits hanging on the wall, a whole gallery of the family grandfather, great-grandfather, and of course my father, King Edward, standing straight as always, with that same look looking down on everyone. "You again! I'm so sick of you!" I muttered through gritted teeth. Anger clouded my mind in an instant. I don't know why, but right then I decided to do it. I lunged at the portrait, ripped it from the wall, it crashed to the floor, then another and another. I grabbed my father's portrait, raised it high to smash it, and froze. I stood there out of breath, holding the portrait in my hands. My arms were trembling. I looked him in the eyes. "Oh, to hell with you!" Sighing heavily, I began picking up the portraits, one by one, hanging them back on the wall. Crooked, messy, but at least I no longer wanted to destroy them. I looked once more at my father's portrait. "I'll never be like you. Never!" In my home, there will be love and understanding, not just orders, duties, and judgment. As I approached the door to my room, something clicked inside me. I was so fed up with all of it that at that very moment I decided I couldn't live this way anymore. Well, to be honest, I had decided that a long time ago, but today at this exact moment I finally gathered the courage to make one of my oldest dreams come true, to run away from the castle. Since childhood, I had wanted to travel the world, to roam in search of adventure, like a true wanderer or a hero from the tales I used to love reading so much. Upon entering my room, I immediately began packing. Unfortunately, there wasn't much to pack. That actually made me smile a bit. Even though I'm a prince, I own very little, but I don't need much right now. I think I'll manage just fine. I had to escape through the window, yes, really? I couldn't find any other way to leave the castle unnoticed. I tied together anything I could get my hands on: blankets, trousers, sweaters, bed sheets, and knotted them all tightly, checking each one for strength. I threw the bag over my shoulder and tied my so-called rope. Carefully, I lowered it out the window. After checking whether it could hold my weight and making sure it was long enough, I climbed out the window and began descending slowly, hoping no one would notice me. Though I'm not afraid of heights, glancing down makes the blood in my veins freeze, but after calming myself a bit, I continued the descent. Just as I was nearly down and starting to feel proud of my agility, I suddenly heard a strange sound, a distinct creak, growing louder by the second. In that moment, I naively hoped it was coming from far away, but before I could process the situation, I was already on the ground. Whether the rope didn't hold my weight or one of the knots decided I had had enough, I couldn't say for sure. But one thing was crystal clear: I had heroically crashed to the ground. Luckily, the fall wasn't from a fatal height, and the ground was relatively soft, though my pride suffered far more damage than my entire body combined. I stood up and brushed off the dust that generously coated me after my graceful landing. I took a deep breath of the cool, fresh, free air it smelled of dew. Breathing felt especially good in that moment. Maybe this is what freedom smells like, escaping from a royal cage through a window. I felt light, and I headed toward the forest. Behind me stood the palace, majestic, with its stone tower silently observing my every step, and ahead the road, paved with uneven stones, leading toward Terenu. I walked with no clear plan. I walked simply because I felt that is where I'm meant to be. This is my first real step toward my own destiny, and I was endlessly proud of myself. On the way, I passed paths I knew well. I walked past the fields where I used to ride horses with my father as a child. I remember the old mill, now long sunken into the ground, and once I played hide and seek with my mother in this very spot. I remembered everything. Sprayed knees on the rocky path, a torn forehead from the thorny rows of branches that bloomed along the trail. It was all so familiar, yet somehow distant. I walked, remembering every moment of my childhood so warm and dear, and I couldn't understand when everything had changed so drastically. Lost in memories, the road passed quickly. Before me rose a dark wall of trees. The forest looked so dense it seemed almost hostile to my presence, as if it didn't want anyone to know who or what lay deep within. Should I go in or not? On one hand, freedom, adventure, a new life. On the other, darkness, the unknown, and to be honest, it's kind of scary. I talked to myself. At that moment, I start to wonder if I overestimated my dramatic escape skills, but there's no turning back, and I don't want to return to the castle, because worse than fear is returning to what you ran from. Yeah, it would be awkward to back out now, but awkward in front of whom? At least in front of myself. I mutter again under my breath. After pacing back and forth for a few minutes, I finally took a step forward and found myself in the heart of the forest. A forest I, by the way, wasn't allowed to set foot in. Why? Because King Edward himself forbade it. But I stepped in anyway, and that thought alone gave me strength. As I walked through the forest, I enjoyed the birdsong and the fruity scent of the slow berries that filled the air. I don't know how long I wandered like that. I just walked wherever my eyes led me, savoring the peace and silence. Walking through this forest, I felt like I fell into a trance for the first time in ages. My mind was quiet. But suddenly, the silence in my head was interrupted by a faint, almost imperceptible voice that caught my attention. Is someone else here? Maybe you're lost. Without thinking much, I decided to follow the voice to check if someone was in trouble. I had heard that people often disappear in this forest, though now I'm not even sure I'll find my way back myself. As I got closer, I caught a glimpse of a young girl who seemed to be talking to herself. For some reason, I instinctively hid behind a tree and my body froze, as if sensing danger. This was the first time I had ever felt something like that. Mustering my courage, I cautiously peeked from behind the tree to get a better look. I barely caught the sound with my ear. She was talking to someone. As it turned out, she wasn't alone. She was having a conversation with someone my eyes couldn't see, and the more I listened, the stranger it all became. 100 years, 100 long years of silence, pain, and hatred. Freya, gently stroking a thorn, said to it, "You're the only one who understands me in this world. You are my heart and soul. You created me. I am a part of you, Freya. You're not just a part of me. You are my pain and my scream. Every one of your thorns is a wound on my heart. I remember when you created me. I remember every word you spoke. I grew from your tears. I became your strength. I will never open my heart to anyone again. It is closed with thorny spikes. I still hope that someday someone will come who can ease your pain, but I will stay with you forever, and I will protect you." Something inside me felt I shouldn't be here. This mysterious girl, though she looks innocent, radiates a power far beyond what any human can imagine. wanting to test my luck, I decided to quietly leave, but after only a single step, a branch cracked under my foot so loudly it felt like mockery, drawing the attention of every creature in the forest. "Damn it," I muttered with a sigh. Before I could even regret my actions, something crept up to my legs and grabbed me, pulling me toward her with such force that resisting was pointless. Who is this? Why is he still here? And why is he still alive? I didn't sense his presence at all, as if he wasn't even here. Who are you? Why did you come here? Let me go. I'm a prince of the kingdom. A prince? And what business would a prince have wandering through my forest? Did you come to kill me? Answer! Kill you? I don't even know who you are. Why on earth would I want to kill you? He's telling the truth. I feel it. His heart is pure. Heart? Humans have no hearts. They bring only pain, betrayal, and misery, she shouted angrily, looking me straight in the eyes. I feel many questions and pain like yours, and maybe, just maybe, this young man will be able to touch your heart without being pierced by the thorns. My heart is dead. No, it's asleep. Maybe you could let me go? It hurts if my father finds out. She didn't even let me finish. Do you think your titles give you the right to go where you're not wanted? Her voice was quiet but cold as ice. There was so much hatred in her gaze that a chill ran down my spine. Look, I was just walking through the forest, nothing more. Are you really going to kill me for that, seriously? Ask your spirit, your friend, or whatever he is. I didn't do anything wrong. He speaks the truth. And so what? You came into my home. Did I give you permission to come here? And since when does this forest belong to you? Since the day I created it. Shouting that, she waved her hand, and the branches binding me suddenly came alive. They lifted me into the air as if I weighed nothing, and without much ceremony tossed me aside. The thorny vines released me, though not in the most pleasant way. Get out or die like the others. This is your last chance. The forest doesn't like intruders. It's better when it's quiet here. Getting to my feet, I began to brush off the dust. I just wanted to help. I didn't think that'd be a death sentence. Help? Help who? Me? I just thought someone was lost, and when I heard your voice, I came to check if everything was okay. And tell me, Prince, do you always rush into places you shouldn't just to check if everything's okay? Well, usually, when I want to help, and no one usually throws me into the bushes if that's what you mean. You should have just walked by. If you had been wise, you wouldn't have seen me or this place at all. But no, you were drawn here. I wasn't even looking for you, I shouted, slightly irritated. It's not my fault you were shouting louder than the royal courtiers. His words are sincere. He wasn't looking for you, but perhaps fate was. You take danger far too lightly, Prince. And you take strangers far too seriously. Maybe just once, try listening to someone. Fine, I'll listen, but one wrong move and the forest will swallow you whole forever. Deal, not the best welcome, but I'll take it. Maybe we should at least introduce ourselves first. Allow me, I'm Arthur, Prince of the Kingdom. And you are? And your friend, by the way, he seems much more polite than you. Kidding, sorry. Arthur, you're probably used to everyone being happy to see you. Well, welcome to my world, Prince. Here, kindness is as rare as gold. This is a very different world. But I'll introduce myself. My name is Freya, and a friend. He just doesn't like talking much, unlike some princes. You have a beautiful name, and see, the tension between us has eased a bit. but I'm still curious. Who is he? You can call him Terenu. That's already too much information for you. So, we've been introduced. Tell me, what are you looking for in this forest, Prince? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure, but for as long as I can remember, something's been drawing me here, like a magnet, and now I want to understand what exactly. Those who search with good intentions often find something far greater than they expected. I don't want to be impolite, but I'm curious, why would such a young and beautiful girl choose a life among trees and branches, far from people? Don't you think you're asking too many questions? And frankly, I think it's time for you to go. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend you with my questions. Leave, or shall I help you? No, thank you. Your hospitality last time was more than enough. After my words, Frey fell silent. Her eyes no longer looked at me. She slowly turned and walked away. The wind gently stirred her hair, but she didn't even seem to notice. After a few steps, she stopped, without turning around, almost in a whisper but loud enough for me to hear. She said, "You have no place here. This is not your world." The wind rustled the branches. I lowered my head, looked at her once more, took a step forward, then another and another. My feet seemed to carry me on their own, through the overgrown path, among the roots that tangled beneath my feet and the branches that struck my shoulders. I walked in silence without looking back, and then Terenu spoke to me. "This is not the end. This is only the beginning." I returned to my room. As always, it welcomed me with silence and coolness, but inside me, everything was loud. Her words thundered in my heart. I couldn't forget Freya's gaze, piercing like it was woven from thorns, but somewhere deep inside, still warm. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the dark ceiling. Time passed slowly. Memories wandered like ghosts through my thoughts. Her voice echoed in my head again and again, each intonation, every word coming to life in the night's silence. Maybe it was because she was different. No flattery, no games. She didn't hide behind smiles or try to please me. She was just herself, blunt, sharp, a little strange but real. Maybe that's why I became curious and I wanted to know her better. Why is she like that? What made her so bitter toward the world? And why do I want to see her again? I asked myself. I got up several times during the night, walked around the room, drank some water, even opened the window, as if fresh air could make a difference. I was even angry at myself for not being able to calm down. It was just one meeting with a strange girl, and yet I couldn't find peace. I don't want it to end with that one conversation. There's still so much left unsaid between us. I want to know more about her, I mumbled under my breath. That night felt endlessly long. I couldn't wait for dawn, and near morning, just as the castle began to stir, I finally fell asleep, not for long but still. Yet I woke up with the same feeling. I had to try to find her again. I need to go back to the forest, try talking again. Though this time, I went through the door, not the window, though the previous route had its charm. I stepped out into the courtyard and mounted my favorite horse. Immediately, my father's servants ran up to me, needing to know everything as always. I replied dryly to their questions without even raising an eyebrow. Nothing special, I just want to go for a ride. The road was familiar, the horse calm, the weather still, windless, slightly overcast. A perfect day to meet her again. I wasn't in a hurry, I had no plan. Only hoped to see her once more. I reached the forest edge and stopped, tied my horse by an old pine not far from the trees. I continued on foot, took a few steps deeper in. It was quiet here, no sign of her nearby. After sitting for a while, I realized this time I wouldn't get to see her again. Accepting that, I stood up and began walking back toward my horse. But just as I took a few steps, a faint voice drifted from the tree so soft, I thought it was only the wind. Just arrived and already leaving? Teren, is that you? Of course, who else would it be? It's hard to get used to a forest that knows how to talk. Yes, you already know too much for an ordinary human. I suspect. No, I feel why you're here. I don't know how you do that, but yes, I truly can't forget her. There's something about her that draws me in, even if it frightens me a little, to be honest. I couldn't sleep, kept thinking about her. She's like a mystery I desperately want to solve. Her story is quite heavy, even tragic. Maybe you can tell me about it. I want to know what made her lock herself away in a dark forest. Oh no, that's not for me to tell, but I sense she'll tell you everything herself. You weren't the only one who couldn't sleep last night. After those words, Teren fell silent. I didn't hear from him again that day, though I tried to keep the conversation going for a few more minutes. Did she say something about me to you? Why are you silent, Teren? Of course, everyone's so friendly in this forest. I'm amazed. Fine, stay quiet. It's not that important anyway, I shouted, a little irritated. I sighed heavily and returned to my horse. He was shifting his hooves impatiently, as if he too sensed something unusual. I gently stroked his mane. Easy, buddy. We're heading back. I jumped into the saddle, took one last look around. The forest's edge seemed just as calm and empty as when I arrived. Hiya, let's go home. The road back was much quicker than last time. The sun was already leaning toward the west, casting long shadows over the ground. I hurried not to give my father any more reason to be irritated. When I finally arrived home, I led my faithful friend into the stable, gave him water and hay, brushed him down, and went to rest because the day had been long, and upon entering my room, I lit some candles, opened the window, and sat on the sill. The evening was warm and starry. I gazed at the dark forest in the distance for a long time, and wondered what she was doing right now. The hope that Terenu gave me warmed my heart. I will try again. Lying in bed, I didn't even realize when I drifted off. When I woke in the morning, sleep still clung to the edge of my mind, but the thought of her drove me out of bed. I still had to go down for breakfast. I left my room, gently closing the door behind me, walked down the corridor I could already navigate with my eyes closed. Arriving at the dining hall doors, I opened them with a creak. Before me, as always, a lavish table. My father ate in silence. Mother, Olivia, was finishing her fragrant tea, watching me attentively. I sat down without a word and stirred my spoon in the bowl without touching the food because I simply couldn't eat. I was here because I had to be, not because I wanted to. Arthur, where do you disappear to every day after breakfast? And why have you been so thoughtful lately? My mother asked gently. I just go for walks, Mom. Every day and always alone? As always, my father couldn't just eat quietly, he had to scold me. Walks are all well and good, but you have duties. You must prepare for the council, study state affairs. I'm not running from my duties, Father. I just need some peace and space. Peace? What peace? Where's your sense of responsibility? A prince can't allow himself to be like this. Edward, let him have a little freedom. He's growing up. My mother gently placed her hand on my father's shoulder. Son, but where are your parents? If something is troubling you, tell us. You know we're always on your side. I barely suppressed a laugh on my side. Those words sounded absurd in my head. I saw how they always justified themselves. My parents kept preaching about duty and tradition, but not once asked me what I truly felt or wanted. To me, their words were just empty sounds meant to soothe their own guilt. I had no desire, no strength, and no time to argue with them again. I was in a hurry. I no longer cared what they were saying. My mind was full of Freya and my future. Thank you, Mother. Everything's fine, truly. I stood up from the table, bowed, and headed toward the door, through the corridors to my room. I wasn't walking anymore, I was running. And here they were, my doors, a refuge and salvation from this senseless castle. Entering my room, I threw a piece of bread and a flask of water into my bag. My stomach was empty, but I had no appetite. I sneaked out of the castle again. This time, my loyal horse Pegasus was with me. We set off toward the forest. I rode, repeating to myself every second. Today we will talk. We definitely have to talk, period. After tying Pegasus to the familiar pine, I walked deeper into the forest. Everything here was already familiar to me. Every path, every tree. I came here like to my own home. I felt at home here. I walked muttering under my breath. If you stay silent again, I don't know what I'll do. I walked to the very heart of the forest, to the place where I first met her. Freya, I know you hear me, I almost shouted. Why are you shouting? Don't you know this forest doesn't like that? I don't like being avoided. Leaving without saying goodbye is rude, at least. I already told you everything, and saying goodbye is not for me. Help me find her. I know she's here and you know where she is. Help me. Then like a shadow she appeared, between the trunks, in a gentle haze, barely noticeable as always. She stood in a beautiful dress, her hair falling on her shoulders in light waves. I nearly fainted, she was so beautiful. You came again? Why? Maybe we should say hello first? That somehow makes the conversation less harsh. Hello, Freya, I'm glad to see you, I continued. Oh, excuse me, Prince. This isn't a palace with refined manners, so be glad you haven't been kicked out yet, like last time. Well, thanks, of course. That's already a feat not to throw someone face down. So, why are you here? I want to know what you're afraid of, why you hide, why you don't let people near you. Because you're human, created to bring pain. I'm not like that, Freya. Don't you see? Don't believe me? Ask your Terenu. I see you found yourself an ally. I didn't expect that from you, Terenu. Freya, he's telling the truth. Feelings are growing in him for you. Oh wait, you don't have to tell everything, I exclaimed to Terenu, a bit embarrassed. But on Freya's face, I even caught a faint smile, and honestly, that was pleasant. Enough of these games. Are you mocking me? This isn't a game, Freya. I really feel something for you. I can't understand exactly what because I've never felt this before. All human feelings are dust. You say one thing, but in reality... Freya, please, tell me what's on your soul. Why do you push people away? Why do you push me away? I almost whispered. I think you can trust him, Freya. I feel it. What do you feel, Terenu? She answered angrily. I have never let you down. Freya, trust me, please. If it will satisfy your curiosity, well, listen. His name was Oscar. We were together since childhood. He swore love to me, said I was his future. We built dreams, even chose a place to live after the wedding. And what happened next? And then he disappeared, without a word or goodbye. I searched for him and warned him I feared he was dead. Then I found out he married someone else. He didn't even have the courage to confess, didn't say a word, just vanished like a coward. You humans are all liars and cowards. Not all like Oscar. Yes, there is much deceit and betrayal in the world, but there is also something else: honesty, loyalty, love. Freya, If we stop believing in people, we lose ourselves. You are strong, but you don't have to be strong alone. Open your heart, let it believe in people again and in love too. Freya lowered her gaze and whispered almost inaudibly. Don't try to get into a place where there's nothing left but ashes. People always leave and cause unbearable pain. And I can't be fooled again, so it's better for you to forget this path. No, it won't be like that. I will do everything to prove you're not wrong about me. And I don't want to hear anything else. I'm not Oscar, I'm Arthur, and I will never leave you. I found what I've been searching for so long. I saw a spark of hope in Freya's eyes, and this time, even though she tried to push me away, at the same time I felt she didn't want me to leave. That warmed me in turn too. Unfortunately, it's late. I have to go. They've probably been looking for me at the castle for a long time, but tomorrow I'll definitely come back. I hope you'll wait for me. Night enveloped the land as I returned to the palace. The road I had traveled dozens of times felt completely different this time. I had just seen her true self, not the recluse everyone called a witch, but Freya with a broken heart, pain in her eyes, and hope she hid even from herself. Her words, her gaze all left a mark on my soul deeper than any ocean. For the first time, I realized I felt something I could not find among the palace scope, lavish balls, and advantageous marriages. I felt love, pure, true, without embellishments, and I hoped this love would also awaken in the eyes of the woman who feared loving again. Thoughts about Freya won't leave me alone. They consume everything, every cell of my body and mind. It felt like even the air smelled of her, and with that scent came a desire to do the impossible, to tear out from her heart that cursed thorn she had wrapped herself in, and to heal every wound betrayal had inflicted on her. I will come back to you, and I will prove that love doesn't always betray, I whispered, raising my head to the sky. I hope that in Freya's heart, for the first time in a long while, something stirs, warm, quiet, almost imperceptible, but alive. I'm not asking for love right away, but I believe she will begin to trust me. Far away, beyond the high palace walls, a storm was already waiting for me, a storm in the form of my parents, for in their hearts, day by day, control over their son was slipping away. As soon as I returned to the castle, they were already waiting for me. The royal hall was filled with tension. My father stood by the fireplace, his face no longer able to hide his anger. Beside him, my worried mother. Even the walls shook from my father's shout. Where have you been? There again? In that cursed forest again? I was just walking and thinking about the future. No need for these shouts. I'm going to my room. Don't you dare leave this hall without my permission. I'm not done yet. Arthur, come back immediately. I didn't even look back. My steps were confident and determined. I didn't listen to what he was shouting behind me because I was no longer going to obey orders that meant nothing to me. All my thoughts were about Freya right now. Only she mattered to me. Father nearly exploded from my defiance and the fact that his plans were beginning to collapse like a house of cards. I think he realized that passing me off as a princess from other lands was becoming an increasingly illusory matter, although from the very beginning, it was impossible, but only I understood that. And Mother at that moment only listened silently. I think it was hard for her to hear constant quarrels between my father and me because she loved both of us, and she always had to be like a bridge between two fires. Barely had time to enter my room and fall onto the bed when the door already opened. My mother came in. Son, you know how much I love you, but you have to understand your feelings for that witch, for Freya, are just a dream that will never come true. Think about the kingdom. It needs an heir, a ruler, not a boy who's lost in the clouds. Mother, she's not a witch. She's kind, it's just the world refused to accept her as she is. She's kinder than most people at court, I explained to my mother. And why should I live the life you chose for me? I don't want your crown if I'm going to be unhappy. It's your duty, Arthur. We all have sacrificed something for the sake of peace in the realm. I didn't choose this marriage either, but you were born from it, and I regret nothing. Duties. You want me only to fulfill your stupid duties. Have you ever cared about what I want? And besides, I'm not you. I cannot betray my heart. I'd rather run away from this palace than give her up. You will break my heart, Arthur. I don't even want to hear this. You don't understand what this could lead to. Your father won't forgive. If you and father can't accept my choice, consider that you no longer have a son. Arthur, don't say that. What use is a throne if I'm lost to myself? Mother, I'm grateful for everything, but my heart is no longer here. Forgive me. I choose love, not the throne. You're still young, Arthur. Your heart is passionate and craves adventure. How do you imagine this love will last? I hope you make the right choice. A tear ran down her cheek. Mother, please leave me alone. I'm grateful for your love, kindness, and concern for me, but I'm no longer a little boy. I made my choice. Nothing would change it now. I choose not the throne. I choose love. Mother wiped tears from her eyes and laughed. I was left alone in my room. I was hurt after that conversation, and I think both Mother and I understood that from now on, everything in our castle would be different. I was so tired from today that I didn't even notice when I fell asleep. The night passed quickly, and the morning was not like before. I felt anxious somehow. I sensed it from the first step as soon as I left my room. It seemed the air in the palace was different than usual, the air before a storm that is about to begin. All the servants hurried somewhere, ignoring my presence. No one looked me in the eyes. Even familiar guards had a strange, guilty expression. They tried to ignore me, and some turned pale when they saw me and tried to disappear as quickly as possible. I felt like a ghost. After watching all this for a moment, I grabbed one guard by the arm. What's going on? Nothing, Your Highness, just an ordinary order from His Majesty. And what has my father come up with this time? Sorry, I have to go, or I'll get in trouble. I didn't believe him. It was obvious to the naked eye he was hiding something but afraid to tell me. Something's wrong here, but it's okay. We'll figure it out. I walked to the throne room, but it was empty. The courtiers had dispersed. Father was gone. Even Mother behaved strangely when I met her in the corridor. She tried to avoid talking. Mother, what's wrong with you? Where are you rushing off to? Son, you know I have painting in the garden today. Where is Father? Where is everyone? Why is there such a fuss? Arthur, I don't know. I haven't seen your father since morning. He's probably busy with state affairs. He has no time to sit idly. And you would do well to take care of state affairs too. I see that something is wrong. Enough, Arthur. They're waiting for me. We'll meet at lunch. Mother hurried away, almost running toward the exit, but the answer didn't take long to come. It found me itself. One of the younger squires, a boy with honest eyes, intercepted me near the stairs and whispered, "Forgive me, my prince, but your father has given an order. He's burning the Thermwood forest. People with torches have already been sent." What did you say? I froze at the news. I saw the squad leave at dawn, with orders to destroy everything. They should have already reached the forest outskirts. Those words struck me like a blow to the chest. I froze. The dream I had seen earlier every night, now reality. In my eyes, every moment of that dream flashed by in seconds, as if I had just lived it again. I am in the fire. Everything around is burning. I turned around and didn't say anything more. I just ran to the stables. My heart was beating like a drum. My mind refused to believe, but every part of my body was already screaming about danger. Freya? No, not this. I won't lose you. I'm coming. Just a little more wait, I whispered endlessly. I saddled my horse and galloped as fast as I could to the forest. I rode, forgetting everything, title, throne, duties. The only thing that mattered to me was her home, her life, our future. The forest was already looming on the horizon when I saw the smoke. Gray heavy, it slowly rose upward, as if the very soul of the forest was crying out for help. I felt my legs turn to lead, but I didn't stop. I leapt off the horse on the run and sprinted forward, gasping for air. The fire had already engulfed the edge of the forest. Torches flashed through the underbrush. The servants with lit torches moved efficiently and in unison as if performing a routine rather than murdering a living thing. I shouted, forcing the words out of my dry throat. I screamed with all my might, but it felt like no one heard me. Stop! What are you doing? Stop! This isn't order! By His Majesty's order, the forest must be destroyed. There is magic nesting there. You don't understand. She's there. You're killing her. We obey the king. Forgive us, your highness. I won't forgive. Never will I forgive. Do you hear me? I tore torches from the guards' hands. I screamed and fought, but it was all in vain. They were like zombies possessed by my foolish father's command. I stood in the fiery light, and then something inside me broke. My father not only rejected my choice, he decided to erase my life, erase everything I loved. I screamed in despair. No, I won't let you take her. And with those words, I rushed into the forest. The fire burned my body, the smoke stung my eyes, but I ran forward, repeating her name over and over. Freya, Freya, hear me, I shouted into the smoke. Terenu roared like a wounded beast. Flames advanced toward him like a wall, relentless and hot. He spread his branched limbs like wings and tried with all his might to hold back the fire crawling over the ground, through the air, over the tree trunks. His leaves blackened before my eyes. The first tongues of flame touched his bark and it cracked, releasing resin and smoke. But Terenu did not retreat. His branches spread wide, holding the fire back like a barrier. Roots tore from the ground to form a shield around Freya, who stood behind, exhausted, tears in her eyes. Hold on, Terenu, hold on, friend. I believe in you. The flames burned his leaves. Everything caught fire and turned to ash, but Terenu still stood. He stomped the fire with heavy branches, knocking down burning trees so sparks wouldn't spread further. And when the fire reached even his roots, when he was almost burned to a crisp, he still covered Freya with his body, because she was his heart, and he was her last shield. Freya stood motionless, like carved from smoke and pain. Before her, Terenu burst from the earth with his last strength, gigantic, burning but unbroken. Through the heat, through the crackling fire, I shouted, hoping she would hear me. Freya! I appeared before her, covered in soot and torn clothes, my voice hoarse. I ran toward her, as if the very fire was pushing me from behind, and as soon as I got close, she screamed, almost tearing her voice apart. Stop! Don't come closer! I froze, momentarily losing the gift of speech. Her gaze was like ice. Before, I saw light in her eyes, now darkness. Did you come to see if everything burned down? To see your order carried out? Terenu thumped his branches on the ground, threatening me. I didn't recognize them. I felt both scared and offended that they could think it was me. What? No, Freya. Terenu, it's not me. I didn't know. I swear. I only found out this morning. You're a prince. You should know. This is your land. These are your people. They acted under your name. But not by my will. It was my father. He decided the forest was a threat to me. He thinks I'm lost, that you're an enemy, but he doesn't understand. came to stop them, to save you." She was silent. Smoke wrapped her figure like a ghost. I heard her heavy breathing, saw the mixed feelings in her eyes. She was scared and helpless for the first time. "Do you really think I could do that? That I would send fire on you, on your home? I love you, Freya. I didn't come as a prince. I came as someone who cannot imagine a world without you. Even if I have to lose everything, I'm ready." Freya stepped closer, her voice trembled. "Then why didn't you stop him?" "Because I didn't know, but now I do, and I will do everything to stop this, even if I have to stand against my father. I see truth in your eyes. Not power, not a game, not betrayal. True love, the same love I've also begun to feel for you, Arthur." We looked into each other's eyes for a long time. Then suddenly she hugged me tightly, and I hugged her back. I took her in my arms and carried her through the smoke, through the heat, ignoring the pain, carried her to the edge of the forest, and Terenu helped me, clearing the way. And finally we emerged from the hall. I still couldn't see well what was happening around me because my eyes were watering from the smoke. Then I heard a very familiar voice. It was my mother's voice. She was breaking away from the guards, running and shouting. "Where is my son? Who has seen the prince? Mom, what are you doing here?" She ran to me, hugged me, touched my cheek as if she couldn't believe I was real. "I searched for you all over the kingdom and couldn't find you until one of the guards told me you headed this way.